Alrighty. Whoa, we're already live. Do you think our computer's working a little bit faster? Because sometimes when we click live and it takes a second, and sometimes it just immediately goes live. But it's also because our production engineer, Alec Chase, is working really hard in the background. So hello, everyone. Welcome to Legal Lunch and Learn, a weekly live show where we ask an expert your questions on a legal topic. My name is Cindy. I am the staff attorney here at Maryland Legal Aid. Joining us today is actually a reoccurring guest star. It's our chief attorney for Baltimore City office, Sun Desai. And of course, our topic today is going to be unemployment insurance. And as per usual, our fan favorite slash co-host of the show is Director of Community Lawyer Initiative, Megan McDermott.
Hey, everybody.
So again, our topic today is going to be on unemployment insurance. And before we get started, just to let everyone know, this is more of an update on what has happened since, a new administration, a new laws, new expansion has taken place. So if you want to learn more about unemployment insurance, unemployment benefits, make sure you check out our other video, and actually our inaugural video back in August of last year of Lunch and Learn. And of course, Alec will help me put that link to that video in the description and the comment section down below. So before we get started, just to let everyone know, if you do have an immediate legal issue, or if you want to speak with an attorney one-on-one, you can contact us at lawyer@mdlab.org. That's LAWYER at mdlab.org, or you can call us at 443-451-2805. Oh, let me do that again. 443-451-2805. For those who do need captions, our videos are uploaded to YouTube. And of course, as I say it every single time, just because you ask us a question here and we give you some great answers, or you follow our show religiously and take some legal advice, it does not establish an attorney-client relationship between you, any of the attorneys that you see here today, or with Maryland Legal Aid. So the best way to ask a lawyer your legal question is to contact us. And of course, thank you again, Alec, for putting those information in the chat section too. So with all of that out of the way, welcome back, Sunny.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I can't believe it's been since August. Time's flying by.
Yeah, it has been a while. So the last time when we had you on the show, I think you talked about, the unit you used to supervise and what kind of cases a legal aid took in terms of public benefits. So this time I want to talk a little bit about you. Tell us something interesting about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a native of India. I was born there and migrated here in '97. And I speak 3 different languages. English is not my native tongue, but I've sort of lived here in America now longer than anywhere else. So it just sort of, my thoughts have turned from my native language to English now, so it's more familiar to me.
Yep. So do you still watch shows back in your native language or no?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I can't read or write it, any of the other languages, Indian languages, but I still watch Bollywood movies, obviously, as I hope everyone else does too.
I do too, especially the more recent, bigger production ones. I really do love them.
They've gotten massive. Yeah.
Yep. All right, so let's dive into unemployment insurance, and I don't have a better segue than that. I'm sorry. So the last time you were here, one of the questions I asked was, so what happens when everything has been exhausted? And at the time, we didn't really have a good answer, but I guess it's a good thing that, a new year, a new administration, and it sounds like some benefits have been extended. So let's go ahead and just start talking about what has been extended.
Yeah, absolutely. The new administration, I think, is certainly has a more friendlier approach to unemployment benefits and just social safety nets in general. So while this law that extended some of the benefits passed under the previous administration, I feel more confident anyway saying that we're less likely to fall off a cliff going forward. Whereas last year, when we last spoke, it was sort of, I don't know, they might pass something, they might not pass something. Now it's a slightly more certain, I would say. But so the last COVID relief bill that passed, I believe it passed back in December, extended all the benefits that were created under the CARES Act, which passed back in April. So last we spoke, one of the benefits, the $600 addition, ended in July. PUA, which is Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, was scheduled to end in December. All those benefits have been extended in one form or another. So just going down the line, PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, which if you don't qualify for the traditional, regular unemployment, then you most likely qualify for PUA. That benefit has now been extended through March 14th. But if you have eligibility remaining beyond March 14th, you can get the benefit through April 10th. So the way that works is if you apply after March 14th, under the current laws, you would not receive PUA. But if you've applied prior to March 14th and you have eligibility remaining, they will give you benefits through April 10th. So PUA has been extended altogether. You can receive up to 50 weeks of unemployment benefits.
And I just want to clarify this real quick, because obviously 50 weeks is actually a quite long time by some standards. So if you apply now and you started, and by April, that's not 50 weeks, does your benefit get cut off by April, or does it keep going?
Yeah, so if you were to apply today, let's say, but you lost your job last year, the Department of Labor will backdate your application to December 1st. So if you lost your job prior to December 1st, you can't get those benefits back, unfortunately, at this point, but they will backdate it as far as December 1st. Obviously, if you lost your job yesterday, they're not going to backdate it to December, but your eligibility can start under certain circumstances back to December 1st, counting forward. So even with that, that's not, by April 10th, you will not have hit 50 weeks. So unfortunately, unless they pass further legislation extending those benefits even further, you would only get benefits through April 10th if you were to apply for today under PUA.
And for those who have exhausted so for those who had it before in 2020, and they have exhausted in 2020, obviously not 50 weeks at the time because that wasn't the law then. Do you know if they need to reapply, or can they just restart in the Beacon system?
Yeah, so I'll say that you shouldn't have to reapply in most cases, but I'm saying should, because Department of Labor has been inundated with applications, with calls, with inquiries, and they're not operating as well as they should. That's the best way I can put it. So we have heard some cases where folks have had to reapply, and it's not clear if that should have happened or not. And it's not clear because we're not able to get the information that we need to make a proper determination. But generally speaking, if you're within your benefit year, the benefits, as long as you keep filing certifications, your benefits will be extended. Once your benefit year ends, you have to then file a new application. So that's a bit confusing, and I'll just use some dates as an example. So let's say you worked at a restaurant, the restaurant shut down because of Governor Hogan's order on March 16th, I believe, is when most of the places shut down. So you applied that week of March 16th. Your benefit, if that's the first time you ever applied for unemployment, your benefit year would begin that week. So March 16th, 2020 through March 15th, 2021 is your benefit year. So right now, you're still within your benefit year, so you would still keep getting the extended benefits as you are owed. However, once your benefit year ends, you would then have to file a new application. and they would reassess you. And if you have eligibility remaining, they would then pay out whatever eligibility you have remaining. So I hope that clears it up a little bit.
And do you know, and this probably applies to all the other benefits that we'll be talking about too, but do you know if there will be a notification that's sent to someone who's receiving benefit, or will, people will just have to know, hopefully by watching this program?
Right. So the way it has worked in some cases is folks have received emails or notifications, or when they log into their Beacon account, which is Department of Labor's online portal, they have received a notification saying, hey, you might be eligible for this benefit as well. But you shouldn't rely on that, especially right now, with as inundated as they are. Should be proactive about making sure that you're getting the benefits that you deserve. So go on to Beacon, look at the action items, look at your correspondences, and just make sure that you're not missing out on anything. But yes, ideally, they would notify you.
But nothing over paper, right? Like they wouldn't mail you.
So when if you've applied through Beacon, at one point Beacon does ask you what is your preferred method of communication. You can choose mail, you can choose email, or you can choose text message. So they should communicate to you through your preferred method of communication. If you've opted out of mail, they wouldn't send you mail. We've heard sporadically that some folks opted into mail. They wanted mail notices, and yet they haven't received mail notices, which is why I encourage everyone to be proactive. Log into Beacon, go to your correspondences. On the left-hand side of Beacon, there's a link for correspondences. Click that, and then click search. If you just click on correspondences, likely nothing will show up. But if you hit search, then lots of things will show up, most likely. So just make sure you take that step. Make sure you review your messages, review your action items fairly regularly. If it was me, I would do it daily, to be honest.
Yep, absolutely. Thankfully, we have good access to computers and internet, and I know there are people definitely out there who are less able to access the internet. So whenever you can, guys, check your Beacon account. So let's move on to some of the other programs. Let's see. Do you want to talk about FPUC?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the most I think popular programs under the CARES Act was FPUC, and in layman's terms, essentially, if you qualified for any kind of unemployment, even if it was the bare minimum unemployment, the federal government would tack on an extra $600 per week on top of whatever your bare minimum is. And that was obviously very popular. Unfortunately, it expired at the end of July. That has been renewed, but at a lower rate. So instead of $600 a week, now they're providing an additional $300 per week. And that will last through March 13th. So if you qualify for any benefit, any unemployment benefit at all, in any amount, the federal government, through the state, adds another $300 on top of that. So that may be extended past March 13th. We're not sure yet, but right now that's available through March 13th.
And do you have to apply for this separately?
No, that's automatic. So you don't have to do anything. The only thing that you just have to be eligible for some unemployment program, and the 300 just automatically added without any action on your part.
Yep. So for claimants or claimants who are receiving something every week, they should check to make sure that they're receiving that too.
Yes, absolutely. Just through March 13th, just make sure that there's that extra $300 boost that you're receiving. And we haven't heard of any reports of folks not receiving that. So I don't think that'll be an issue, but definitely double check.
Yep. And let's see, we also have the PEUC. There we go. Do we want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, so a little bit of background might help here. So typically under normal circumstances, pre-COVID, in Maryland, you were only eligible for 26 weeks of benefits. And the lawmakers realized that, we're not going to be, this COVID thing's not going to end in 26 weeks. We're going to need more, folks are going to need more help. So they introduced a pandemic-related extension. Initially, this extension was for 13 weeks, right? If I'm getting my math right, yeah. Initially, last year, the extension was for 13 weeks for a total of 39 weeks of benefits. They've added on another 11 weeks on top of that. Essentially, what they're trying to do is make sure that every person, no matter what benefit they enter the system through, that they get 50 weeks of benefits. So essentially, PEUC, they added another 11 weeks of benefits just to get folks up to that 50 weeks of benefits. And it gets a little bit complicated. You might start off with regular unemployment, switch to PEUC, then to PUA. The track you take doesn't matter so much, but bottom line is, one way or another, you will be eligible for a full 50 weeks, assuming you meet all the other requirements.
Yep, and I think that assuming you meet all the requirements is very important here.
Right.
So same with the PUA, in terms of PEUC, if by April 10 you have not exhausted all the weeks available to you right now, would you still keep on receiving it, or does it terminate now that, unless something else happens?
Yeah, so they with PEUC, if you're switching to an extension, the department will likely prompt you to opt into that, to apply for that. So that's why it's important to sort of keep checking your beacon as much as you can, really, just to make sure you're not missing anything. It's not everyone. We have heard reports that some folks weren't automatically switched to that, that they had to go through and click something. And so yeah, my advice, biggest takeaway from today is keep checking your Beacon account. Make sure you don't miss any action items, any correspondences, any certifications, obviously, and any other programs that you need to opt into.
Right. And so this one I hear hasn't been launched yet. So I hear there's an entirely new program that is called the Mixed Earner Unemployment Compensation, because we need more acronyms, the MUUC.
Yeah, in the world of public benefits, it's all acronyms. They only multiply. We never get rid of any. The Mixed Earner Unemployment Compensation is brand new. This is a new program. This was not established under the CARES Act. This was newly created under the most recent COVID relief bill that passed in December. And the problem was there were some mixed earners, some folks that got part-time, regular employment income, and some folks that also did some gig work, for example, driving an Uber. So they had two sources of income. Those folks were sort of falling through the cracks. Their benefit amounts were very low. They just weren't receiving enough benefits. So this program, MEUC, seeks to fix that. So it hasn't been implemented in Maryland yet. I don't have it. We haven't been told when it will go into effect. But essentially, what it does is, if you can prove that you earned $5,000 of self-employment income last year, 2020, the federal government will add another $100 to your benefit. So the thought there is that these folks were getting very, very little unemployment benefit. This will supplement that benefit and catch them up to sort of everybody else, and provide them with a bit more relief. So it hasn't been implemented yet, but and you have to show. I imagine the way it will be implemented is you have to specifically apply for this, provide documentation, and then they would give you the additional $100 per week.
Right, and I'm hoping, and obviously we don't know, I'm hoping that there will be some sort of beacon announcement or alert or something, hopefully crossing our fingers.
Yeah, so I will say, if you can sign up for emails at mdunemployment.com. I haven't checked. I signed up for emails, almost a year ago now, so I don't know if that system's still available, but you can sign up for that. If you have a Beacon account, if you haven't already a pending case with Department of Labor, they're sending out notices, emails to those folks as well. But one of the best ways to get the information as quickly as possible is actually Twitter. They're tweeting out some of these updates a lot quicker than anything else. So I would suggest following the Department of Labor's Twitter account as well.
Yep. That's a little unexpected.
Yeah.
I thought they'd be faster with their website update, but Twitter is 140 words and people like it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much all my questions in terms of the main questions. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this back to Megan for some questions from the audience.
Hey, Sunny.
Hi, Megan.
Okay, so not too many questions today. One person asked, and I guess this is timely because we're in tax season, if they have to pay taxes on unemployment insurance.
Yes, unemployment benefits are taxable. When you first apply, you can indicate whether you want the Department of Labor to withhold taxes before they send you the benefit, or you can opt out of that and basically tell Department of Labor that I'll handle taxes on my own, just give me the full benefit now. So depending on what option you chose, you will have a tax liability when you file 2020 taxes.
Okay, and what if you're not sure, if you don't remember what you chose when you signed up for benefits?
Yeah, so the department sends out a form. I forget, it's like I don't want to misquote the form's name, but they will send out a form basically saying you were paid out X amount of dollars in UI benefits. And
Okay.
when you file for taxes, you want to make sure you input that information in your taxes to calculate your tax liability. So if you don't remember, that form will certainly help you out.
Okay. And I think you and Cindy touched on this a little bit, but if someone didn't realize for whatever reason that they were eligible for unemployment insurance and they lost their job back at the beginning of November, for example, can they still apply now, and would they still get sort of like back pay for the last couple of months?
Yes, well, certainly file an application as soon as possible. As far as back pay, it gets a little bit complicated what benefit you're applying for. For regular unemployment, for instance, you can't backdate it, but PUA you can. And perhaps that doesn't quite make sense, but that's just how the law is written, unfortunately. So yeah, you perhaps might get some of that back pay, but file as soon as possible for sure.
Okay. And then you guys talked a little bit about how these programs have expanded during COVID, and more people are eligible for unemployment who may not have been in the past. What about somebody who has sort of unstable income? So I'm not sure exactly what kind of job they do, but one week they're making a couple $100s, and then the next week they might make $0. Should they apply for unemployment?
Yes, absolutely. Just not only if it's unstable income, but perhaps you do have stable income, but your hours were reduced. So you were working 40 hours a week, now you're only working 20 hours a week. Yeah, definitely apply. Just know that the Department of Labor looks at your income week to week. So every week you have to file a certification and report to the Department of Labor how much income you made that week. If your income, generally speaking, if your income is higher than your weekly benefit amount, then for that week, you would not receive any benefits. So if your weekly benefit amount is $430, which is the maximum, if that week you made $600, you would not get any benefit for that week. And of course, it gets more complicated, but generally speaking, if your income has to be low enough for that week to get benefits. But don't let that stop you from applying. That's up to the department to calculate. So I would, rather than making that calculation on your own, I would apply and see if you're eligible. So if this week your income was too high, no benefit this week, but next week, if your income is low enough, you would get a benefit that week. So you file the application, keep filing the certifications and following up.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask that. So if you're too high one week, that doesn't knock you out of the program completely. You could still be eligible the following week when you're making a lower amount again.
Correct. So yeah, if you do have unstable income, don't just assume, oh, I'm not going to get the benefit and not apply. You may be eligible some weeks. It's a week-to-week determination.
Okay. So we get this question a lot at Legal Aid. We don't help people fill out their applications for unemployment benefits. What if somebody does need help? I know there's been a lot of struggle around the system that we use now. Are there any organizations or any particular groups that help folks with these applications?
Yeah, unfortunately, unlike some other benefits, there is no organization that assists folks in applying for unemployment. So for food stamps, for example, Maryland Hunger Solutions is an organization we refer folks to often. They will actually help you apply for food stamps. With Beacon 2.0, the Department of Labor has said that third-party functionality will be turned on or should be turned on. So meaning someone like me could open up a Beacon account and for the sole purpose of assisting other folks with applying for benefits or representing them in an appeal or things like that. Unfortunately, it's not working as well as we were hoping, and perhaps that will be fixed in the future. But so that's one issue. Another issue is there just aren't organizations that are set up to help folks file for applications. Employers, especially back in March of 2020, when a lot of hotels, for example, laid off a lot of employees, the employers themselves helped their employees apply for unemployment. So there was that option for employers to file bulk unemployment applications. It's gotten a bit more complicated now with Beacon. Beacon has some issues. But the bottom line is what I would recommend is if you have a family friend, a family member with reliable laptop, internet, I would ask them for assistance to apply for. That's probably applying through Beacon is the best way to get your application filed. The only other option is to call them to file an application, and the phone lines are still, we've heard that it's getting better, but it's still difficult to get representatives on the phone.
Okay. And then I think this is our last question. It's kind of just a general question. So when these benefits expire, it seems like every couple of months things are changing. Is there anything people need to really know about expiration of these benefits in April? Will it be like a hard cutoff? If you're already enrolled, do you get to finish the complete, the weeks that you're owed, things like that?
Yeah, so some of these benefits are set to expire April 10th. However, I sense that there's probably going to be another legislation coming, which may include extension of these benefits. We don't know what exactly that looks like or how long they'll be extended for, but I'm certainly more confident this year than I was last year that these benefits will be extended. But as it stands right now, the PUA program, for example, has a hard stop. Same thing with the extra $300 per week. That's set to expire mid-March. So some of these programs do have in the law written in that they will end, but I'm optimistic that they'll be extended as well, especially if we're still in a state of emergency, if the pandemic is still as bad as it is now.
Okay, great. Cindy, I think those are all of our audience questions.
Thank you, Megan.
Sure.
I think we said this a couple of times. At the end of the show, we usually ask the expert to tell us what's the one thing you like our audiences to take away. So, Sunny, what do you think?
Yeah, so the one thing I'll say is unemployment was never a super simple program to navigate. It's gotten even more complicated. So I highly recommend applying through Beacon, through follow-up, check your action items, check your correspondences, make sure you don't miss any appeal deadlines. If you get denied, you have appeal rights. A lot of folks are seeing overpayments right now. You have appeal rights, you have waiver rights. Just make sure you're on top of it so that you're not missing any deadlines. And one other thing I would say is if you're having trouble getting a hold of somebody at a Department of Labor, contact your state representatives. We have heard that some folks are successful going that route, contacting state representatives who then make the connection with MDAL. So it's tough right now, but persistence has been paying off for some folks. I don't think the larger issue is going to be resolved anytime soon. It's just going to take a lot of phone calls, a lot of inquiries, contacting your state representatives, appealing some of these issues to get them resolved. So,
Yep, hanging there.
yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And
All
we're
right.
happy to help. If certainly contact us, and we're not turning away anybody with any sort of unemployment issue right now. I know Megan mentioned we don't really help fill out applications, but we'll still take your case and try to walk you through, what steps might be helpful. So we're really not turning away anybody with an unemployment issue as long as they meet our income guidelines and all the other requirements, of course.
Yep. And I think it's important, if you do need help, contact us, so that you can talk to someone one-on-one, because one, is confusing for you to navigate this yourself, and two, it's just better for someone to deal with your issues specifically, because I think your neighbor might tell you something and they might have something completely different than your circumstances. So if you don't know if you qualify for our income guidelines, just call us. And again, we're friendly. We're just trying to help. So Sunny, thank you for joining us today. And for the listeners out there, next week is the start of our mini series. And no, we're not the BBC, but our videos tend to run more than 30 minutes sometimes. And I know your time is precious. So the mini series are going to be focused on one subject and hopefully go in depth about it in a couple of separate episodes. So the first one up is our bread and butter, which is expungement. So this is going to be a 4-episode mini series, and the first episode is going to be on what is expungement and why do you want it. So make sure you're tuning at the same time next week, which is Tuesdays at noon. And if you want to, send your questions early to make sure that we do get to your questions within our 15-minute to 20-minute time slot there. So with that said, make sure you're liking, subscribing, sharing our videos if you find them helpful, and sending your questions for expungement. See you next week.